I will not waste your time. Today we will install Ubuntu. The first step, of course, is getting it. Everyone's video has this part, so I'll just touch on the points really quick. Google Ubuntu. Find ubuntu.com. Find the desktop, download. And you will find the one that says LTS. I guarantee that's important. And when you get to this page, it should start downloading automatically. And the next step you can do like this. You can go back to the previous page, you can click on how to install, and it gives you a little tool called Bolina Etcher. By the way, before you use this tool on a flash drive, make sure that there's nothing important on it. The next part is what I'm actually interested in focusing on. What you do is you have your computer powered off, you plug in your USB, you power on your computer, and you go into the BIOS. For most computers, this means as soon as you press the power button, you're going to press F12 as many times as you can until you see a menu that makes your heart stop. By the way, if your button is not F12, your BIOS is usually smart enough to know that you're trying to do something, and it will tell you which button to use. Your menu can look a lot different from mine, but what I care about is the options. In the options, I want you to look for a keyword. The keyword is USB. Whichever option says USB in it somewhere, you're going to pick that option. So at this point, this is what you're going to see. Once you get to this screen, just sit on your hands and it will pick the first option for you. If you've been sitting for a while and it doesn't, just press enter and you're gonna wait for it to boot up. By the way, Tianocore is the name of the BIOS, so that's why it says that. We are now out of the woods, but this next part will be scary, so I will hold your hand. Here we can pick our language. It's probably English, so we're gonna say next. Here are the accessibility settings. These are special settings that will help you type and help you read and things like that. So next we configure the keyboard. For the most part, people have an English US keyboard, so the default will be perfect for them. If you have something else and you know what it's called, you can input it here. If you don't know what it's called, then you need to use the detect option, which is very tedious, but it's really the best way. But I know I'm using English US, so I will just say next. Here, you will need your Wi-Fi and your Wi-Fi password. You will use this middle option that's grayed out for me. For you, it will be available. The only reason that I don't have it is because I'm using a virtual machine. So now it's time for the serious stuff. There are really two screwballs that Ubuntu can throw you. The installer may ask you if you want to update the installer itself. If you say yes, then when you're done with the update cycle, it will close out the installer and dump you on the desktop, which is not a big deal because you can always click that installer icon in the upper left. When you click through the installer a second time, you'll notice that this is the page after Wi-Fi. The other screwball is when it flat out refuses to install, and this is typically because of an odd disk configuration that you have. The only appropriate solution that I have for that is to have you install Linux Mint Debian Edition. The reason is because the installer of that one is a lot less picky. So now we've resolved the screwballs. Let's pick interactive installation and click next. You want to use this as a desktop, so you're going to use the extended selection. This one is kind of a paradox because you have to check both of these boxes or your computer will not work properly. The safest and most foolproof choice that you can use is erase disk and install Ubuntu. But you might not be ready to get rid of Windows or Apple, so I need to tell you about the top option. If that describes you, we need to slow down and make sure a couple of things are taken care of first. I will exit out of the installer and I will find a utility called gparted. When you get to this scary page, just say authenticate. This will show us how much empty space we have on our disk. In our case, 1 megabyte. If you have less than about 20 gigabytes of free space as gparted sees it, the installation will not go smoothly. If the Windows partitions are too big, even though gparted allows you to try to change the size, you should do it from the Windows side, which is even more complicated than this, and I've already been confusing enough. But I will give you resources for that so you're not just up a creek without a paddle. So now we are back in the installer and back at our choice. I will pick the simplest and most foolproof one first and pick erase the disk and install. It asks for a lot of personal information that it makes you feel you have to give over. Let me let you in on a little secret. You can just make it up. So here are all these fields filled out in an Ubuntu compliant way. And if you don't want to remember your password, you can even uncheck this. By the way, trust me, leave the bottom one unchecked. This map has nothing to do with your actual location. It determines your time zone and configures some region-specific things. So for example, if you live in Nevada, you will still be in Los Angeles as far as this map is concerned. So I can accept this and click next. So we've made it. Now we can click install and let it do its job. And now you are finished with the installation. You can just restart, or if you want to play with the desktop a little more, you could say continue testing. When you're done, go up in the upper left. When you're finished, go in the upper right and you can turn off your computer with that power button. If you have any questions about what you just saw, feel free to put them in the comments and I will be glad to answer them for you.